Welcome back to the deep dive, and a special hello if you're tuning in from the C9 podcast and business page. Great to have you with us. I'm Lex.
And I'm Vera. We're from C9. And yeah, we're ready to get stuck into another interesting topic.
Absolutely. So for this deep dive, we've been digging into quite a bit of material notes, some internal briefings, bits from websites, all focused on one thing, really: custom desktop software development.
Right. And specifically how it applies to businesses, well, right here in Australia.
Exactly. Our goal today, we want to cut through all that info, pull out the key stuff, and basically give you the highlights.
Yeah, we're talking directly to you, the Australian business owners, the C-level execs listening in. We want to explore how custom desktop software isn't, just another IT line item.
No, it's more strategic than that. It can be a tool for gaining a real competitive advantage and, importantly, tackling some of those unique operational headaches we face here in Australia.
Think of this as maybe a shortcut, a way to get quickly up to speed on why tailored applications might be really important for your business's potential down under.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. What are we actually talking about when we say desktop software development?
Well, fundamentally, it's about building applications, software programs that run directly on a computer's operating system. So Windows, macOS, maybe Linux.
Right. So stuff you typically install on your machine. It uses the computer's own power, its hardware. And often this is key. It can work even if you don't have a constant internet connection.
Exactly like those solid, reliable programs lots of businesses depend on for really critical day-to-day tasks.
Something that came through really clearly in the material we looked at was this core problem, especially for Aussie businesses. That frustration with off-the-shelf software. It often falls short.
Yeah, you see that phrase pop up. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Packaged software, it's built for everyone, globally.
Tries to be a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right. But in doing that, it rarely fits anyone's specific way of working perfectly. It doesn't quite map to your unique workflows, the ones you've probably refined over years.
And when the software doesn't align with how your team actually gets things done, well, it causes friction, right? Slows people down, forces them into awkward workarounds.
And crucially, it doesn't give you anything you need. No special efficiency, no capability that sets you apart. You're essentially using the same tools as your competitors. That's not really a competitive edge.
So that's where custom desktop software enters the picture. It's basically saying, okay, the generic stuff isn't cutting it. Let's build something that does.
Something totally bespoke, tailored, precisely to your business needs, your specific processes, even your operational standards.
There was a quote in the source material that really captured this. It said, for Australian businesses seeking a competitive edge, off-the-shelf software often falls short. Our custom desktop software development delivers bespoke applications that fit your unique workflows like a glove.
Like a glove. I like that. It really paints a picture, doesn't it? It's the opposite of trying to squeeze your operations into some generic box.
Exactly. It's software built around your business, not the other way around.
Okay, now this is where it gets particularly relevant for businesses operating here in Australia. The material we reviewed didn't just talk theory. It pointed to specific operational challenges, things kind of unique to our market and geography.
And it showed how custom desktop software is often, well, perfectly placed to solve them.
Yeah, these aren't just abstract hurdles. They're practical, everyday issues that come from, working across this massive continent.
Like what specifically?
Well, one example mentioned was managing complex supply chains across state borders. Think about that, different state rules. The huge distances, say, Sydney to Perth, or coordinating stock between Brisbane and Melbourne.
Right. It adds complexity that maybe a standard global package just doesn't cater for adequately.
You might need software that understands specific state-based freight regulations or different tracking needs for intrastate versus interstate movements. Nuances like that.
Okay, that makes sense. What else?
Another point was about streamlining client interactions, specifically tailored to Australian customer service standards.
Which isn't just about being friendly, I suppose?
No, it's more about the expected way of doing business here, the level of personal touch, maybe specific invoicing or payment cycles that are common in Australia, or even how you typically handle issues.
That local flavor. You want software that supports the way Australians prefer to interact in business, not impose some generic international model.
Exactly. But probably the biggest challenge highlighted, especially if you operate outside the big cities, is dealing with connectivity challenges, particularly in regional areas.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge one. Reliable, fast internet just isn't guaranteed once you get away from the main urban centers.
Precisely. And this is where custom desktop software really shines. The material explicitly says it ensures critical operations can keep going, uninterrupted, because it provides reliable offline access.
That's massive. Think about your team out on a remote site, maybe a mine or a farm, needing to update records. Or a sales rep trying to process an order in a country town with patchy mobile signal.
If their main software needs the internet constantly, they're stuck. Work just stops.
But with a custom desktop app, they can carry on, access data, log information, do what they need to do, and then sync it all up later when they do get a connection.
For many Australian industries, that's not a nice to have, it's essential, non-negotiable.
There was another quote that hit this nail on the head, wasn't there?
Yeah. Connectivity challenges are a reality for many Australian businesses, particularly in regional areas. Our custom desktop software development ensures crucial operations can continue uninterrupted, providing reliable offline access to vital applications.
That single sentence really sums up why purely web-based solutions sometimes just don't cut it for the diverse operating environments we have here.
So, building on those challenges, the material digs into the specific advantages custom desktop software offers, always linking back to that Australian context.
And these advantages, they really start to build a strong case. First one, which we sort of touched on, is precisely tailored solutions.
Meaning, the software is built to reflect how your business actually works, not some generic template. That like-a-glove idea again. Less friction, fewer mistakes, no need for clumsy workarounds. It just slots right into your operations.
Makes sense. Then there's optimized performance and efficiency. How does that work?
Well, because it runs locally on the user's machine, it can use the computer's full processing power. The material highlighted this is really important for handling, say, large data sets common in industries like mining or agriculture.
Right. Imagine trying to process massive amounts of geological survey data or detailed livestock records or crop yield figures.
Trying to do that heavy lifting over a sometimes flaky internet connection with a web app, it could be incredibly slow, maybe even impossible. A local desktop app can crunch that data instantly, right there. Speed isn't just about convenience. It impacts how quickly you can make decisions.
Especially with huge volumes of data, yeah. And we mentioned reliable offline access, again critical for Australia's diverse landscape. Your business keeps running, city or bush.
Seamless integration was another big one. Custom software can be designed from the start to talk nicely with the other systems you already use.
Like what kind of systems?
The sources mention things like existing Australian accounting software, CRM systems, and industry-specific platforms.
Okay, so making sure your new operational software can automatically feed data into, say, MYOB or Zero without someone having to type it all in again.
Exactly. That's a massive time saver, and it cuts down on errors significantly. It helps create a unified system where information just flows where it needs to.
Good point. What about security?
Always crucial. The angle here is robust security and data protection compliance. You can build specific security features right in, tailored to meet Australian regulations like the Privacy Act, right from the beginning.
And the material noted that desktop apps are often less exposed to the public internet than web apps, right? Which adds a layer of security.
Yeah, potentially a smaller attack surface. It gives you more direct control over your data environment and helps ensure you meet those local compliance needs.
Okay. What about growth? Businesses change.
That's where scalability comes in. Unlike off-the-shelf software, where you're kind of stuck with the vendor's updates and features, a custom app can evolve with you.
So as your business grows or changes direction, you can modify or add to the software.
Relatively easily, yes.
Yeah.
You avoid that painful situation where you outgrow your software and face a massive rip-and-replace project. It becomes an investment that can adapt.
It future-proofs things a bit.
And we shouldn't forget the people actually using it. User experience. The material made a strong point that a custom interface designed around your team's specific tasks and workflow leads to better adoption and higher satisfaction.
Makes sense. Less training needed, fewer mistakes. People are just more productive if the software feels intuitive and logical for them. Happy users, productive users.
Exactly. And finally, there's the idea of long-term value. Yes, there's an upfront cost to build it, but the sources point out you often avoid those ongoing per-user subscription fees you get with packaged software.
Which can really add up over time, especially as you grow.
Definitely. And maybe more importantly, having a system that perfectly aligns with your business strategy offers ongoing value that generic software just can't match. It's a strategic asset.
So pulling all these benefits together requires some serious technical chops, right?
For sure. The material hinted at this depth, mentioning experience across 100-plus technologies and having 18-plus years in the field. That suggests, a deep cool box and the experience to know which tool to use for which job.
Not just a one-trick pony.
Right. And one key technical aspect that stood out was cross-platform capability. The sources confirmed that custom desktop software doesn't have to lock you into just Windows or just Mac.
Ah, so you can build it to work the same way across Windows, macOS, and Linux.
Yep. That's really important for businesses where maybe the design team uses Macs, but the accounts team uses PCs, or you have servers running Linux. Everyone needs access to the same core functions.
How do they achieve that?
The material specifically mentioned a technology called Electron. It effectively allows developers to build the application using web technologies, things like JavaScript, HTML, CSS, but then package it so it runs like a native desktop app. And the key benefit highlighted was enabling one code base to be deployed on all three major platforms.
Wow, one code base for Windows, Mac, and Linux. That sounds much more efficient to build and maintain.
It generally is. And while Electron handles that cross-platform core, the material also mentioned using other frameworks or libraries, things like Qt, GTK, WhatX widgets.
What do they do?
Think of those as tools for building the actual look and feel, the buttons, the menus, the visual elements. Using these helps ensure the software looks and behaves consistently and smoothly, regardless of which operating system your team prefers.
So the tech exists to build powerful, tailored software that works wherever your team works on whatever machine they use.
Exactly. And all this, the technical skill, the understanding of Australian challenges, the benefits of customization, it all leads to what the material kind of framed as the Australian desktop advantage.
Right, there were several specific points listed that defined this advantage for local businesses. It kicked off with being customized for Australia.
Which means not just custom, but custom with an understanding of the local market, the regulations, the specific operating environment here.
Having a local expert team was highlighted too. Developers based here who get the Aussie business landscape, who are in your time zone for support and collaboration.
Makes a difference. They also mention end-to-end service, handling the whole process from understanding the problem, designing, building, deploying, and then supporting it afterwards.
Takes the pressure off your internal teams.
Yeah. And I like this one. Great Aussie UX. So not just user-friendly, but designed in a way that feels intuitive to Australian users, reflecting local work styles, perhaps.
And backed up by local ongoing support, getting help from a team that actually built your specific system and understands your context.
Definitely. The material also referenced proven Aussie results, suggesting a track record of success with other Australian businesses, which builds confidence.
And underpinning it all was a focus on exceptional service and a customer-first approach, making sure the whole engagement is focused on solving the client's actual needs.
And those scale metrics, they included, 45-plus services offered, over 350 projects completed, using 100-plus technologies. With 18-plus years of experience, they add some tangible weight to that capability claim.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, what's the core message for those Australian business owners and C-level executives listening?
I think the main takeaway from all this material is pretty clear. Generic, off-the-shelf software probably wasn't built with your specific Australian operational reality in mind.
Especially if you're dealing with challenges unique to our geography, our market, or our infrastructure. Things like complex state-to-state logistics, specific customer interaction norms, or those regional connectivity issues.
Right. In those cases, custom desktop software offers really targeted, really significant advantages. It's about getting the right software for the job.
Software that fits your workflows like a glove, performs well even with big local datasets, works reliably offline when you need it to, integrates smoothly with your other Aussie systems.
Provides robust security that meets local compliance, can scale as you grow, and importantly, is actually easy and intuitive for your Australian team to use day in, day out.
That level of tailoring, especially from a knowledgeable local team, can really shift your software from being just a tool, maybe even a frustration, to being a genuine driver of efficiency and a source of competitive advantage.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. When you think about the specific operational challenges and opportunities in your Australian business, the unique ways you work, the hurdles you face daily, your competitive landscape, just imagine what kind of transformation could be possible.
What could a truly tailored, high-performance desktop solution, one designed specifically for your needs and your unique Australian operating environment, actually unlock for you?
It's a powerful question. And if it gets you thinking and you want to explore what that might look like for your business, the company whose materials formed the basis of this deep dive is C9.
And the sources describe C9 as Australia's leading custom software, apps, integration, and database developer company.
You can find out more about their approach, particularly to custom desktop software, and discuss your specific needs by visiting their website.
That website is www.c9.com.au. That's c9.com/day.o.
And look, if you found this discussion useful and you know other Australian business leaders wrestling with software that doesn't quite measure up to their unique challenges, please do share this deep dive with them.
Definitely. And for more insights like this, make sure you hit that follow button for the show and for the C9 business page so you catch our future deep dives. Thanks very much for joining us today.